Veridia Prime is the terminal point of the Green Hell. It is a world where evolution ditched subtleties like poison or camouflage and went straight for size, speed, and armor plating. The flora is razor-wire tight, the fauna is titanic. 5 years ago, the 9th Deep Recon Squad, the Federation's elite pathfinders, crash-landed here during a failed orbital insertion. They were written off as dead within 48 hours. Standard survival models predicted 0% viability past the first week without resupply. 5 years later, a long-range scan picked up a faint, anomalous energy signature near their crash site. The brass decided on one final look. They sent us, Alpha Team. We are the hammers they drop when they want a planet broken. We dropped in wearing Mark X Juggernaut power armor, carrying enough plasma ordnance to level a small city, and networked with tactical AIs designed to predict alien behavior. We expected to find bones, or perhaps a few starving, half-mad survivors hiding in a hole. We didn't find survivors. We found the new management. I am Captain Draven, and I have never felt more obsolete than I did on Veridia Prime. The drop was hell. The atmospheric humidity was so dense it felt like we were falling through warm glue. Our sensors were screaming with interference before we even hit the canopy. We crashed through 3 layers of tree cover, landing in a swamp that immediately tried to digest our boot seals. The heat was incredible. Outside our climate-controlled suits, the air temperature was 60 degrees Celsius, and the jungle noise was a deafening wall of shrieks and grinding chitin. Alpha Team, sound off. Keep chatter clear. Sensors are unreliable. Trust your eyes, I ordered, my voice sounding hollow inside my helmet. The tactical overlay on my HUD was a mess of static and ghost signals. The jungle was jamming us just by existing. We moved toward the crash site coordinates, a walking column of high-tech ceramite and fusion power. We found the remains of the 9th's dropship. It was unrecognizable, overgrown with iron-hard vines, the metal hull corroded by acidic moss. But it hadn't been looted by animals. It had been stripped. Cleanly. Every piece of useful metal, every wire, every ceramic plate was gone. And then we saw the totem. In the center of the clearing, a massive 15-foot-tall spike of hardened ironwood had been driven into the ground. Impaled upon it was the skull of something huge, a creature with 4 eye sockets and jaws wide enough to crush a small vehicle. The bone was polished clean. Captain, that's a Goliath stalker skull, whispered Lieutenant Vance, my heavy gunner. Those things are supposed to be invincible against anything short of a tank round. Keep moving. Eyes up, I said, feeling a cold knot form in my gut. This wasn't a distress signal. It was a territory marker. We were 2 clicks east when the jungle went silent. The wall of noise just stopped. Ambush, my tactical AI flashed red a microsecond before the attack. It wasn't the lost squad. It was the jungle's rightful king. A living Goliath stalker erupted from the dense bamboo to our left. It was 30 feet of armored nightmare, 6 powerful legs ending in obsidian claws, its carapace thick enough to deflect small arms' fire, its multiple eyes glowing with predatory hunger. It moved faster than anything that size had a right to. It hit Vance first. The sheer mass of the creature slammed into his power armor with the force of a freight train. His suit's shield flared and shattered instantly. The beast grabbed him in its massive jaws, lifting the armored trooper into the air and shaking him like a rag doll. I heard the sickening crunch of servos and ceramic plating failing over the comms. Contact. Open fire. Burn it down. I roared, shouldering my plasma rifle. Alpha Team unleashed hell. 4 plasma rifles and a rotary cannon opened up at point-blank range. Bolts of superheated blue energy slammed into the Goliath's carapace. They scorched the armor, blowing off chunks of chitin, but they didn't penetrate the vital organs deep beneath. The beast roared, a sound that vibrated our very bones, and threw Vance's broken body into the trees. It turned on us, enraged by the pain. It swiped at Henderson, our demo expert, knocking him 20 feet into a patch of razorthorn bushes. We were losing. Our high-tech weapons were just annoying it. I was lining up a shot at its eye cluster when I saw the movement in the trees above the beast. It wasn't an animal. It was a shadow that moved with impossible fluidity. Then the first spear flew. It wasn't a high-tech composite weapon. It was a heavy shaft of ironwood tipped with a sharpened, gleaming piece of salvaged dropship hull plating. It struck the Goliath in the soft joint behind its front leg, burying itself 3 feet deep. The monster roared in confusion, bucking wildly. Then they dropped. 5 human figures plummeted from the canopy, landing on the beast's back with the precision of a surgical strike team. They weren't wearing power armor. They were nearly naked, covered in thick layers of dried mud and alien blood that masked their scent and thermal signature. Their armor was made of cured hides and bone plates strapped to hardened muscle. The leader, a man I barely recognized as the former Sergeant Kale, now just a blur of scarred muscle and primal fury, landed right behind the beast's skull. He carried a weapon that looked like a giant curved sword fashioned from the jawbone of an earlier kill, lined with razor-sharp obsidian teeth. "Hold your fire. You'll hit them." I screamed at my squad, lowering my rifle in disbelief. We watched, frozen, as the lost squad went to work. This wasn't a battle, it was a dissection. They moved with a telepathic coordination, a pack mentality honed by 5 years of continuous hunting. 2 of the ferals, armed with heavy bone hooks attached to thick vine ropes, leaped off the beast and sprinted in opposite directions, wrapping the lines around massive trees. When the Goliath tried to charge, the lines went taut, snapping its head back and slamming it to the ground. Another feral ducked under a sweeping claw strike that would have decapitated an armored marine. He rolled in the mud, coming up underneath the beast's soft underbelly, driving a dual-tipped bone spear upward into its gut with a roar of effort. The Goliath screamed, thrashing wildly, tearing up the jungle floor. Kale, still riding the beast's neck like a bronco, raised his massive jawsword high. With a guttural roar that matched the monster's own, he drove the blade down into the gap between the skull and the spinal armor. He didn't just stab it. He levered it, putting his entire body weight into wrenching the bone blade sideways, severing the spinal column. The massive creature went rigid, gave one final, shuddering convulsion and collapsed into the mud, dead. The silence returned to the jungle, heavier than before. The 5 ferals stood atop their kill, chests heaving, covered in gore and mud. They didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They just breathed, their eyes scanning the perimeter, already looking for the next threat. We lowered our high-tech weapons. We stood there in our billion-credit power suits, looking up at 5 humans armed with sticks and bones who had just taken down a creature that had nearly wiped out my squad in 30 seconds. Kale, the man they now called Ghost, slid down the side of the dead Goliath. He walked toward me, his movements silent in the mud. He stopped 10 feet away. His eyes were wild, intense, and completely devoid of civilization. He looked at my armor with mild curiosity, like an adult looking at a child's toy. He didn't salute. He didn't ask for extraction. He pointed a blood-stained finger at the dead monster, then at himself and then back to the jungle. "Mine," he said. His voice was rough, and used to human speech, gravel grinding on glass. Then he looked at me and his eyes narrowed slightly. "Yours, broken." He nodded toward where Vance was lying, groaning. "We came to rescue you, Sergeant," I said, feeling ridiculous even saying the words. Kale looked at me for a long moment, then threw his head back and laughed, a sharp, barking sound that belonged to the jungle. He tapped his chest with his fist. "Rescue?" he grunted. "We are Apex now. Jungle is home." He turned his back on us and climbed back onto the Goliath. His pack began the work of butchering the kill with practiced efficiency, ignoring us completely. They had work to do. The jungle didn't feed idlers. I looked at my squad. Henderson was limping over, Vance's armor was smoking. We were battered, humiliated, and alive only because the local humans had decided to intervene in our squabble with their food. "Captain, what's the call?" Henderson asked quietly. I looked at the ferals, masters of a world that had tried to kill them every day for 5 years. I realized then that the mission was a failure before we even left orbit. You don't rescue the king from his own kingdom. "Pack up," I ordered, turning back toward the LZ. "We're leaving. They don't need us. God help anything else that lands on this rock." Humanity had proven the ultimate truth of the green hell. You can strip us of our technology. You can take away our guns, our armor, and our civilization. You can drop us naked into the most hostile environment in the galaxy, a place where everything is bigger, faster, and meaner than we are. But all you are doing is stripping away the layers that hold us back. Underneath the steel and the circuits, we are still the most dangerous, adaptable, and savage predators to ever walk upright. The jungle tried to eat them. They ate the jungle instead. We are not the prey. We are the apex feral. And the green hell just got a new master. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Technology is a crutch. The beast inside is eternal. If you enjoyed this primal victory of man over monster, smash that like button with a bone spear. Comment below. If you were trapped on a death world, would you try to build tech or would you go feral to survive? This concludes Saga 17, The Green Hell. Subscribe to see where humanity dominates next. The hunt is over. The apex is established. The jungle bows.